Stoicism is a school of philosophy that was developed in ancient Greece and Rome. Its overall philosophy led to the improvement of one's character and human flourishing and happiness in life. One thing that really stands out about it to me is that it was developed during a time when there was great upheaval in society. A lot of people were lost, confused, acting in evil ways, and the Stoics were the ones who were able to remain calm during chaos, and as such, they were very valued leaders in their families and communities. Practicing Stoicism was a great way of developing the virtue of equanimity, which is mental calmness, composure, and evenness of temper, especially in difficult situations and in the face of adversity. The Stoics believed that virtue was the sole good, right? And they had 4 cardinal virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. I actually had to look that word up, honestly. The definition of temperance is the abstinence from alcohol. But I think we can also apply that concept in a more modern way, which would mean abstaining from addictions or things that are common and popular but detrimental to one's personal character, things like social media, pornography. I gave a really good kind of overview about addiction in my video about transitioning from a traumatized girl to a high-value woman. I'll link that video, so make sure you check it out. Now myself, I was raised in an environment where the lesson was that in the face of difficulty or adversity, or when things aren't going your way, you deal with it by blaming, by yelling, screaming, and hitting people. So I knew that growing up in life, I had to find better and different ways of dealing with difficult situations and emotions. So I find that in general, most people can really benefit from the kind of skills that we learn when we study Stoicism, especially with the difficulties that we're facing around the world during this time. I really enjoyed taking the time and putting the effort into making this video for you. If you find it valuable to you, please like, comment, and share this video with someone who can also benefit from it. Let's get started. So the first Stoic principle to help keep you mentally strong is to live each day as if it were your last. You could also apply another Stoic principle here, which is memento mori, which translates to remember death. Seneca was a Roman Stoic philosopher who once said, "You squander time as if you draw from a full and abundant supply. So all the while, that day which you bestow on that person or thing is perhaps your last." You know, many humans, we take life for granted. We procrastinate, we put things off. We tend to think of the future and all the things that we're going to do. But the reality is that there will come a day where you will drink your last cup of coffee, where you will talk to your best friend for the last time. You who follow me on Instagram know that I really have a romance with the concept of death. You know, I'm someone who has been clinically dead a few times before. I found it really kind of gives a certain gravity to my everyday life. So for me, what makes a day worth living is connecting with people I care about, spending time in nature, enjoying animals, enjoying cooking, creating things that affect people in the world. To me, if I were to die today or tomorrow, I would be satisfied with my life. So a great way to implement this principle in your life is to pretend, do a mental thought exercise, like, okay, if today was my last day, how would I want to live this? Those projects that I know you're thinking about that are really meaningful to you, your health, becoming a better person, creating the things you want to create in this life, living the life you want to live. Don't put them off. Get started today. Keep in mind, we don't know how many days we have left. There will be a day in your life where you will have a week left to live and you won't even know it. Live every day as if it were your last. The second Stoic principle to keep up your mental strength is that food is a great way to test your self-control. Think about it. Food is something that we all must partake in. There are many very compelling temptations, right? The food in the society that we live in now has been engineered in laboratories to set off certain signals in your brain that make you want to buy more of it, eat more of it. And there's an important lesson here in that the pleasure of food is experienced on the tongue, but the real purpose of food, that starts when you have digestion and assimilation of nutrients and vitamins. So that's a long-term process. That's something that benefits you in a less obvious way. We can apply that concept to many areas of our life. of our lives, including dating and relationships, which is something that I certainly love talking about. And you can check that video I made about a transition from a traumatized girl to a high-value woman. Many of the principles in that video are secretly Stoic principles. So when you eat, are you eating for the pleasure and the taste, or are you eating to best fuel and provide nutrients to your body? A great way of practicing this principle in everyday life is to try intermittent fasting, and try eating plain foods. We put sauces and toppings on things. Think about if you were just thinking of the purpose of what you were eating. Would you be putting sauces on it? Not really. So the third Stoic principle is that failure is natural. Do not live with regrets. Marcus Aurelius was an emperor of Rome, and his writings became compiled into a book called Meditations. It has become an important source of Stoic philosophy. He is the one who said, the impediment to action advances action, and what stands in the way becomes the way. It's quite often the case that people who achieve great success had to overcome many obstacles in order to get there. The way that is easy does not build a person's virtue. It's a good practice to expect failure, because it is a guarantee in life if you take chances and do anything worthwhile. So for this principle, I'd say don't be surprised by failure, expect it, embrace it, and pursue the things in your life that seem difficult or that make you uncomfortable. Kind of like me, like making this video right now. You know, in my previous video on survival, I talked about how I was so shy that if someone said hello to me, it would make me so uncomfortable that I would go off and cry. So what I did was I did a ton of research on human psychology, and I repeatedly put myself in awkward positions, you know, things where I had to really push myself socially in order to break through that difficulty and social anxiety. So like I said, I did things like stand-up comedy, beauty pageants, singing auditions when I don't even know how to sing. I remember I used to go on a ton of job interviews just so that I could practice getting really good at job interviews. I eventually got so good at job interviews that without fail, I could go into a job interview and change the frame so that it went from why should we hire you to me being the one saying, why should I work here? And they're like trying to impress me and convince me to let them give me the job. Maybe I should make a video about that. Stoic philosopher Epictetus is famous for his dichotomy of control. The Stoics believe that a person should identify the things that they cannot control, the things they can control, and the things they have somewhat amount of control over. And if you cannot control something, don't worry about it. One thing that you definitely cannot control is the past. It will cause you anger and frustration, and all that does is make your present life difficult. So practical application here is if you find yourself repeatedly regretting things from your past, it may be because there is a lesson there that you have not learned yet. And your subconscious mind is bringing these events up to kind of try to remind you and prevent it from happening again. So what I would recommend is if you keep thinking about things from the past with regret, stop that line of thinking and focus on gifts and lessons. Oftentimes, the worst things that we live through in life, we come out of them with gifts, right? So if we survive something horrible, well, now we're stronger, or we have more wisdom or knowledge in a certain area. We also learn many lessons, right? So things that we didn't know before, we learned the hard way, and now this is a lesson that we'll always remember. Write them down. There's something about your brain that it can kind of settle. If it's ruminating on something and you write it down in the real world and it's right there and you can look at it, your brain will kind of settle on it. So think back on the things that you feel that you might regret in your life and just write down gifts and lessons. And every time those thoughts come up in your mind, just think, nope, these are my gifts and these are my lessons. And those are things that will benefit your life going forward instead of making it more emotionally difficult. The fourth principle is to focus on the small things. Zeno was the founder of Stoicism and described as living an ascetic life. Asceticism refers to practicing severe self-discipline and abstaining from indulgence. You know, in my previous video on survival, I talked about how some of the Stoics would sleep outside with no blankets and using a stone as a pillow. Zeno is attributed to having said that well-being is attained little by little, and by itself is nevertheless no little thing. What this means is that Every little thing is worth paying attention to because they have cumulative and larger effects on your life and even the universe at large. Think, for example, what would happen if every person around the world decided to take a 15-minute walk in nature every day. It also suggests that everything in life is worth paying attention to. For example, if you switch out your daily Starbucks filled with cream, syrups, and sugar for green tea every day, you would experience weight loss. So you could then look at the weight loss and say, oh, this is a great thing. The weight loss is so great. But what really made the difference there was that little switch that you made. I think that's part of why those my morning routine and the routines of millionaires, are so popular types of videos. There's a number of little steps, little things along the way, habits that these people do that most people don't, that make a huge difference. And the great thing about it is that these habits are small things that anyone can start doing every day. So to activate this principle in your life, don't focus on big goals and dreams. Focus on little things that you can do every day that will pay off down the line. So if you want to lose weight and you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe start thinking about drinking a bit of water every day, walking. If you want to start a business, think about every day writing down some knowledge that you know that will be valuable and beneficial to other people. Make a YouTube video every day that helps other people with something that you're an expert on. Focus on the small things. So the fifth Stoic principle is to do away with vanity. No, that doesn't mean stop brushing your hair in the morning. Epictetus was actually born a slave and he lived in Rome. He got banished, lived out his days in Greece. One quote he has that applies here is that it is impossible for a man to learn what he already thinks he knows. That's one thing that I absolutely love seeing on my channel are people who are commenting in my comment section in their 50s and 60s and just saying, wow, thank you for this. I'm just learning this at this point in my life. That's gonna be me one day, learning from the youngins. And there's a Socratic paradox too that says, I know that I know nothing. I remember when I first started getting involved in therapy, personal development, and New Age thought, I thought I had an idea for everything. I thought I knew how everything worked, why people were the way they were. Then at one point I kind of realized that when I was involved in religion, I also acted like that. I felt that I was an authority on other people or the way the world was. I have been humbled so many times. Even now, I had a really successful thing going on YouTube for a while. I am now having to start, almost back at the beginning. When you leave your channel for years on end, you come back, there is definitely a growth and a reinstatement process. I have a lot of support from my viewers and I'm so grateful for that. But I am humble, I am learning, I am open to being proven wrong on anything. Continual growth and learning. So I can't believe it. We've made it to day 7 of the 12 days of Christmas uploads that I'm doing, which will lead to a giveaway on Christmas Day. This has been a real challenge for me. Those of you who've been on my channel know that I usually uploaded only in the past a few times a month. So throwing myself in here, getting these videos up every day, it's been so good for me. And I know a lot of you are enjoying these videos, and I'm so grateful for that. If you're interested in entering the contest for the giveaway, all you have to do is subscribe to my channel, click like on all of the 12 videos up till Christmas, and leave a comment on each of the 12 videos. And considering that I'm kind of starting over and my views are low now and my engagement is low, there is a good chance of winning if you do this properly. I hope it's kind of giving you all something to look forward to and something to kind of keep up with. So I'm curious, what do you think would be more difficult for you to give up as a way of practicing abstinence? Alcohol or coffee? Leave your comments below and feel free to go nuts with the emojis. Love emojis. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.